Visionary, thank you so much for joining me here for another episode at the Nothing for Granted podcast. Today, we are joined by India Brown. She is a video marketing strategist. If there is one episode that you do not want to miss, it is this one. Because if you're on social media, if you're on Instagram, you know that reels are popping. And
yes, they are.
we gotta make sure we don't want to be on the bandwagon per se, but we definitely want to make sure that we're being relevant and that we're being seen. And that, again, we're just really increasing our impact because, like I'm always talking about, this business isn't about you. It's about the people that you serve. And most importantly, it's about using our skills to advance the kingdom. So let's get right into it. India Brown,
Thank
go
you
ahead.
so much, Alenia. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Visionaries. It's so funny. We were chatting before we started the episode, and I'm launching a community called Visionary Mom Circle. So I feel like this is just so aligned right now. But yeah, my name is India Brown. I am a video marketing strategist and social media manager. I know people are like, wait a minute, how can you be both? But I am based here in the greater Philadelphia area. I am a mom of 2 girls. So I pretty much started in the online space as a virtual executive assistant. I was pregnant with my first daughter. I was in corporate and I had told them that I was pregnant and they're just like, oh, okay. Like, that random awkward conversation you have with your boss. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, yeah, like this isn't going to work. Her due date was April. I'm like, yeah, I'm out of here way before April. Like, it's just, I didn't want her to go to daycare. So I'm like, okay, I need to figure out a way how to, continue making my income while being at home. So I found a coach. I started working with him. Of course, COVID hit. He was like, yeah, India, you're doing a great job, but I just don't have, the money to pay you anymore. So that kind of put the fire under my tail. And then I'm like, okay, out of everything that I was doing for him, because I wore many, many hats, as you do as a virtual assistant, I'm like, what do I love doing the most? And that was video. So I've officially been, my own business owner for a year since June 7th of last year. So I recently celebrated that milestone and I've been rocking ever since. I mean, like you said, just the impact that you're creating. My client had a $73,000 launch. And like when you're online, you hear those numbers, but until you really see it for yourself, you're just like, yeah, whatever. They're fluffing. Like but like I was actually in the weeds, in the DMs, providing her with that social media strategy and video marketing strategy that she needed that led her to that success. But I was just like, wow. So definitely super, super excited. That was a long-winded bio, but I'm just so super excited to be here.
No, that's incredible. There's so much that I want to dissect.
To take out of that. I gave you a mouthful.
Yes, just off of your bio alone, the fact that you had to pivot, right, in a time
in a hurry.
Right. Out of this,
and I forgot it. So COVID hit. When he told me that, he didn't just let me go randomly. So I went full-time to part-time. And then I think we went part-time for maybe like 2 or 3 months. He's like, yeah, I'm not, because he was a speaker. And of course, all the speaking engagements were canceled. He was like, yeah, I can't. And I was pregnant with my second daughter at that time. So I'm like, yeah, now I really can't go back to corporate because I would be working for free with the price of daycare.
Girl, oh my gosh. I was pregnant during COVID as well. I gave birth during COVID, and that was surprisingly such an intimate experience. We're usually, so in my husband and I, we are very private when it comes to having children. Like we don't tell people until like 2 weeks after. We're so private. And with this particular pregnancy, it was so like,
it was just different.
Amazing. Because now it's not even like, I don't have to tell anybody, like, I don't really want you to come visit me at the hospital. It was more like the hospital was saying,
yep. Perfect excuse. Oh my gosh. That was the one thing that well, I gave birth in the birthing center, but I mean, they didn't care how many people you had. They were like, yeah, you can bring food. You can, it's a whole party. It's a whole different experience. than a hospital, but that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, you can't come this time.
Right. Right. So sorry. Not sorry at all. Tell me, India, about this client that you had launched, because that's a huge number, $73,000 in a launch. And I'm sure that it probably wasn't her first launch. I'm sure that this has been a long time coming for her.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about the strategy that went behind that launch, and while still being respectful and an integrity to your client, because of course we want to make sure that we're keeping confidentiality.
Yeah, she knows she's fine. But she's in the beauty industry. She is a woman of color. She's a hair educator. So she is in the DEI space. So she teaches stylists and salons how to, what's the right word? Pretty much just be aware of any unconscious bias. She helps them to hire and retain stylists of color, or even regardless of gender. Like, I know she's big on like gender neutral pricing. That's huge right now. And then just creating spaces where everyone is safe. So if you walk into a salon in the middle of nowhere and you have textured hair, she wants that salon, that stylist, to be able to style your hair. So her high ticket offer was pretty much based around that. I love her mission. I really do. I love her.
I'm going to show you how God is right up in this. Okay. So for Visionary, you have no idea. We have rescheduled this conversation probably like,
I know.
And now I'm understanding why. So what you don't know, what you don't know, wait for the gag. So my husband and I are launching our beauty academy this fall. And our mission is to put Latin America on the map on a global scale. We are going to be the next Paul Mitchell.
Wow.
And I had no idea, because I have been in prayer like, God, I'm super hands off on this project in areas that are not my zone of genius. Mm-hmm. And everything that you just said is exactly what I've been looking for. And I'm like, oh, okay. I knew it. When I on this call, I knew that there was purpose. And I'm we're going to have to like, after this call.
Yes, because I'm like, at this point, I'm getting teary-eyed. I'm like, oh my gosh. Because you're like, sometimes you're like, God, do you hear me? Like, do you hear my thoughts?
Yes.
And this is how he talks to me, just like through experiences and stuff. Oh my gosh. Yes, I'm super, super excited.
This is incredible. So tell us more about the strategy. Yeah, that went behind.
Yeah, I mean, so she was high ticket, over $3,000. This was not her first time launching. I think this was her third time launching. I think her first launch was, I'm not even sure, I want to say like 5-10. Her second was maybe like 15 or 20. So we went way over which she, had her last two launches. But as far as strategy, I wanted to do a deep dive because this was my first launch with her. We launched 3 months after working together. So I normally take about a month to really like deep dive into we're still posting, but at that, we're really deep in testing because I'm not sure who your audience, like what your audience is liking. I'm not sure, on a couple of things. So I want to make sure that we're creating content that's working for them. So we're working 3 months together. We launched in April, and she's really, really comfortable doing reels. So we were doing 3 to 4 reels a week. And I know it's really not bad. Once you, do your first week, there's coaches and everyone out here. Oh, you have to do 3-4 a day. I'm like, a day? I don't have time for 3 to 4 reels a day. So yeah, we were doing 3 to 4 reels a day. We were doing a live with just her, like on whatever topic a week. And then she would also bring on a guest. And then we would either have a guest or a round table. So she would have like a beauty round table. So we would have, whoever industry professionals that was in her network that were comfortable coming on her live. We did that. So that was like the social media strategy in terms of content creation. Engagement was huge. Like, I was in the DMs chatting with these ladies. I emulate brand voice so well. It's funny because she's at a conference. She's like, I don't know who any of these ladies are. like I know who they are because I'm the one chatting with them. They're like, I don't know who they are. They're just coming up to me. They're like, oh my gosh. So going in your DMs are definitely important. Besides liking and commenting back, responding to those comments, just forming those relationships off your page is crucial, especially if you have a high ticket offer.
I love that. That's
No,
super
go ahead.
important. That's super important because actually one of my like CEO friends, and she's super successful in like the VA space. Her first launch was 60 grand. 60 grand? No, I'm sorry, 6 figures. Her first launch help her hit 6 figures. And when I was, in conversation with her, she's like, I already had a pre-warmed up audience.
Yep. So they were already nurtured.
It was already nurtured.
Yep.
It was already, and all she did was pivot what she was doing, but they were so in love with her that it's like, I don't care what you're selling, I'm about it. Yep. And from there, she uses Instagram Live every single week, like loyally, like this is her date.
Yeah, we picked a date. I'm like, okay, what day works for you? And I mean, she was busy, she was traveling. So I'm like, okay, if you cannot do Thursday or you can't okay, we can pivot. It doesn't matter, but just commit to that once a week live. It's huge.
Yeah.
And at first it's going to be awkward because you're going to be talking to yourself. But as you continue to do it and people see, you going live, ding, ding, every week, they're like, okay, what is she talking about this week? Let me tune in. And she was like, okay, I want to go live, but I have no idea what to say. So I literally write out their talking points. And this is any client. So if you want to go live, we'll, hash out your content strategy. Well, I'll give you talking points. So if you want to talk about, how to, I'm trying to think of a recent live. It was a woman in Texas, Maryland. Sorry, I haven't had coffee yet. A woman in Maryland who Walmart partnered with her. Have you heard this story? She had a product line that helped women with hair loss. Walmart saw what she was doing in the community, and she's now opening her salon in Walmart. So the whole premise of that live was, is this the trajectory of, is this going to take over like a salon suite or Phoenix salons? And so is Ulta and, Target and all other big beauty brands or box stores, are they going to, follow, try to get on the bandwagon? But it seems like all these beauty brands are like so DEI related now. Like, are you guys sincere about it? But, that's another.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we're going to get controversial here. Yes. Let's do it. So that is huge, especially in the funding space. Every single grant is like, what is your diversity and inclusion statement?
Yes.
No diversity and inclusion statement. Unfortunately, we cannot. You are ineligible.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, so how do we, exactly what you said, how do we know that this is coming from a genuine and authentic space? Yep. How do we know that they have created procedures in place to keep the safety, right, of women of color, just as an example? We don't. It's literally at this point just a checkbox that every company has to tick off in order to open up other opportunities.
Right. Yep.
And to me, that's ridiculous. And I see that a lot even now as we're going from being shop owners and educators in this beauty space to now being directly working with the federal government in education. That's huge. And it's just like you said, it seems like more and more companies are, again, just ticking off that box. But how do we create a system where we can ensure that we're all being protected?
Yep.
It's tough. I would love to hear that live.
Yep. So I'll have to send it to you. But so pretty much just how me and you are chatting, I would write down those talking points, and she went live, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is such a great conversation. Like, she doesn't seem scripted. she's not nervous. She has her cocktail. You don't have to drink on live, but just to break the ice and be, social and fun to your audience. So,
and this is her zone of genius anyway.
yep.
So it's
Yep.
so easy. Like, I'm sure the talking points help because, of course, having a guideline is helpful.
Yep.
But when this is your area of expertise, when
Exactly.
you are the expert in
Yep.
this,
Yep.
you could talk about it all day. It's not a thing. Like, it's
Yep.
just getting past that fear of, honestly, video. And can we talk about that when we're talking about
Yes.
video? What are we talking about specifically? Because we have like IG Live, we have stories, we have Pinterest ideas, which I personally love.
I love Pinterest. I have not worked with a client on Pinterest, but Pinterest, you can repurpose your reels and your TikToks on Pinterest.
Sure do.
So,
Pinterest ideas. I literally just,
I know I have so many like little girl hairstyles, like pin. I'm like, oh, I have to try this one. If they sit still, never.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, as far as video marketing, everything. I know there are specialists out here just for Instagram reels, and that's perfect. That's wonderful. But not all of my clients want to just be on Instagram. Their audience may not be on Instagram. I'm working with a mortgage company who's, obviously their target audience is 30 to 50-year-old males. They're probably not going to be on Instagram. So that's where I come in with a YouTube marketing strategy. So it's YouTube, it's Instagram Reels, it's TikTok, it is stories, it's live, it is video on sales pages. Going back to the launch, we launch just with a regular sales page, no video. It was like crickets. No one was, despite, people were coming, but we weren't converting them. We put a video up, and of course I gave her a script. I gave her, talking points of what to hit, what her offer was, who she was, why they needed to join. I hit those pain points. Hey, are you a X needing help with Y, in a spiffier, funkier way? And those conversions, like, it was crazy. So definitely having video on your sales pages, even your landing pages, putting videos in your emails. I'm not sure if people are going to, I put out a newsletter once a week, and I, switch it up. So one week I'll do, just a all written newsletter. And then another week I'll do a video, and then you can transcribe that video and put it underneath. So, or you can also put subtitles in there, which I highly recommend because everyone never listens. They don't have their sound on all the time. So definitely putting subtitles in your videos are huge. Yeah, that was a mouthful too.
No, video stories. I think when video captions came out on stories, is what I'm trying to say.
It was huge.
And, oh man, I started using them, and I can't tell you how many DMs I got.
I know. Yep.
Friends that they're like, girl, I could never hear your stories because I got kids in the background. My dogs are barking. She's like, this is so helpful. And now all of my stories always have captions because that's people love to watch you. They love to see your face, but they can't necessarily hear you, or maybe they're at work and they got to be, but they can at least read what you're saying under the table. So you mentioned a couple of really good points here, and it's, that any type of video really we want to try and get on, but it's super important for us to understand who is our audience. And you guys, Visionary, we talk about this all the time. So here we go again. Who exactly are you talking to? And have you done enough market research to really identify where it is that they show up? Not just, I think we're all on Instagram socially, but not all of us are on Instagram to learn, to be motivated. I have access to my husband's Instagram, and sometimes his friends will send him videos and I'm like, what the hell? Like, is this really what you're on social for? Like, what is this? Versus me, I follow people that are inspiring and
I know it's crazy.
What? So it's really important. You have to know where does your audience go to
Yep.
learn, to be educated, to be motivated, to be inspired? This is why I have the podcast, because I find that my client avatar, she's a busy CEO. She has kids and obligations and is just always on the go. So a podcast is going to be a lot easier for her to digest information. Yeah. Versus sitting down, I don't know, on YouTube, for example, although I do have a pretty good YouTube community, but then, like if my client audience was not on YouTube, it would make no sense for me to sit there on YouTube, spend, not even hours, because, and we're going to get into video creation in a second, but spend X amount of time creating content that my consumer is not going to be retaining or really gaining the most value from. So super important that who are you talking to and where do they show up? Do you have anything to add to that?
Just painting before you even, maybe you have to go back. Okay, so let's say you hire someone to help you with a video marketing strategy. Maybe you want to, step back a little bit and paint that picture for this person. Or if you're working with yourself, just creating that picture of who that person is, giving them a name. What do they like? Where are they hanging out? What don't they like? What are they getting frustrated with? Where do they see themselves in the next year? So going back to my one client that's in the beauty space, her ICA her name is Ellie. I'm like, oh, I love that name. She's like, yeah, so Ellie is a stylist. She is, she's wanting to be a 6-figure stylist. She's white. She is wanting to expand her skill set. She wants to learn how to cut and style textured hair, X, Y, and Z. Like she had everything mapped out. So that's definitely important when you are creating content, especially video content. You can see the authenticity of someone when they are on video. Like you can't hide behind a carousel post when you're on video. If you're having a bad day, I guarantee you someone could tell if you're on, or if you're frustrated because you've recorded the same clip 30 times. It's huge. Like video is so powerful and so magnetic that like if this podcast, we should have made it a video podcast because we're just like vibing.
Girl, you already know it is multi-purposing everything.
I should have did my hair better.
I don't even have makeup on. It's fine.
But just, seeing that person, seeing their vibe, their personality is huge. And if someone's going through the rabbit hole, that's what I call it, Instagram Reels, are they going to stop their scroll and say, wow, I love this about her, or let me see what she's talking about. She just looks like a fountain of, happiness today. So definitely. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Me personally, I'm a video girl. I went to college for video production. Like I love video. Video is my thing. But when I talk to people about showing up on video, it's the space of, well, I'm just uncomfortable. And to me,
get that so much.
All the time, and for me, it's like, okay, I can help you find funding, but please know that small business grants, 98% of them will ask for a video. Really? They will ask small business. So it's really different when you're asking for like a nonprofit grant. I've never had that. Never. Start looking at more small business grants a couple of years ago. And I was like, what is all this? Like, why? Oh, it doesn't have to be a formal video. It doesn't have to be production lights and all the things. They just want to see you. They want to know if exactly what you said. Does your energy translate as a confident CEO that knows exactly who she's speaking to, the pain point that she's helping alleviate, right? They want to know that you know what you're doing. And that translates on video in a way that it does not on paper. And so when we can become comfortable talking about the problem that we solve on video, it really does translate so much better, and it converts. It takes time, and we can definitely jump into that. But I think when people tell me like, well, I'm not comfortable with video, do the thing that makes you uncomfortable, because that's where there's growth.
Yep. 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 1,000,000%. Camera confidence is huge. I think I've probably spoken on that. I don't even know how many times. I'm like, wow, maybe I should create a course. But I mean, my tips for camera confidence is definitely like right now I have my desk in front of a window. That's probably the best lighting that you're going to get. I'm not really a studio light type of gal. I mean, I do have my ring light, and I would suggest getting a ring light. But as far as like the big box lights, I don't have time for that, nor do I want those in my office, because I don't want those in my office. So definitely lighting is huge. But at the end of the day, when someone says, oh, I had actually a hairstylist, and you remind me so much of her. I'm not sure why. She's like, I've tried video, but I don't like my mannerisms. I'm like, girl, what's wrong with that? Like, you are a wealth of knowledge. And I'm like, why? So it's just peeling back those layers of finding out, like, okay, I have a story to share with the world, and me not showing up on video is definitely, hurting that. Like, you're leaving money on the table at the end of the day.
I love that phrase. That's really commonly used in the funding space as well. And I think that just to touch on your friend with the mannerisms comment, I think those are the things that people
know. Like, if you're from the South and your audience is from the South, they're like, oh, wow, I had no idea she was from the South. They wouldn't have known that unless you're saying y'all, like in your copy.
Yeah.
Like,
yes. Or for me, it was, the first time I went to San Francisco, I was in conversation with one of my friends. And so in Miami, we use the word hella. And I didn't know that was a huge California phrase as well. And so it was such a common ground, because they were like, wait, are you from what? And so
I've had that too. They're like, wait, are you from Philly? And I'm like, well, yeah, outside of Philly. But they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So just, even if you're not showing your face, you're recording video in some way. If you're doing a time lapse of, what you do after, working hours. And someone, oh, wow, I didn't know you were in that area. Oh, I like that coffee too. Or it just makes you so relatable. Like, it starts the conversation. I can't tell you how many times I've had people DM me or comment on my content. I've never had a conversation with them before, but because I'm recording or saying something, that broke the ice. And that's your gateway into having, a deeper conversation with them. And it could lead to having a potential client. So,
yeah. And I think we forget that this takes time. It's that 8 to 12 touch points. So really breaking the ice is step one, nurturing that relationship long-term. That's where the work is. And showing up on video, you're just reestablishing that relationship each and every time. We have such limited time to capture the attention of people on social media.
It gets shorter and shorter every day.
I know. Can we talk about with that restriction, right? Of how video is being pushed on social media, with how short the attention span is. How often should we be implementing video into our visibility strategy?
I would definitely say at least 3 times a week. At least 3 times a week. I compared some data of just posting like 1 reel a week and carousels and other like video that was non-reels. And this was before Instagram took away all the video and just made everything reels. The next week we did 3 reels, and it was over 100. The engagement was 150% over than it was that prior week. So every platform is definitely pushing for video content. So it's not going anywhere.
No, it's not.
And I'm not going to say unfortunately, because you should be showing up on video.
Of
Like,
course.
it's
Especially if you're
so,
building an online business. Like, what do you expect? Like,
yep,
honestly, what do you expect?
yep,
Your
a
picture
million
is
percent.
not enough. I will say this. Recently, just this week, I was doing some end of the month just analytics. And I
Mhm.
was like, wait a minute, why is it that these numbers are coming up for reels that I posted like 3 weeks ago are the ones
Mhm.
that are getting the most likes? And it's because
Mhm.
video, it takes time to gain traction. And I've realized that on my YouTube channel, I've
Yep.
realized that on my reels, my stories get more engagement, more interactions, more
Yep.
views than pretty much anything else, any just stagnant photo.
Yep.
um what would you say about that? And what would you say about when we talk about those 3 times a week? Are we talking about show up 3 times a week on Reels, on TikTok, which of course we can talk about repurposing in a second, but
Mhm.
are we talking about showing up in longer form content versions of, or excuse me, longer form versions of video versus these short kind of bite-sized versions? Or can you just explain better how when we talk about 3 times a week, how exactly do we break that down?
So it depends. So I would say in Instagram just launched 90-second reel. So they're trying to keep up with TikTok. So now they're 90 seconds. So going back to the live we talked about earlier, every single episode, I repurpose that to a reel. And those bite-sized clips were getting juicier and juicier. And I'm like, dang, I feel like 30 to 60 seconds wasn't just enough time. So I'm like, okay, let's test it. So when they launched 90-second reels, um, I did that one and I think it got maybe I don't know, like close to 200 likes, like 20 something shares. Like it was doing really well for her. So I would definitely say try, a longer form. I mean, 90 seconds isn't really longer form, but it's longer than the traditional reel. And then showing, and then I would say the other two reels, try maybe like 7 to 15 seconds. So if you hear a trending audio, try that. The biggest thing is just making sure that you have the transition. So 3 to 5 seconds is definitely, you want something capturing the viewer's attention. So whether that's you changing your shirt, you changing scenery, or doing something to trick their eyes to want to continue watching your video, that's definitely huge. TikTok is a whole different ball game. Like I think with TikTok, you really do have to show up like more than twice a day. um, I know TikTok is, and that's probably why these TikTokers are experiencing these viral videos, because they're on there like all day long, like pumping out content. And it's not polished. Like not all of TikTok um video content is polished. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Um YouTube is different. YouTube definitely, I would say the sweet spot with YouTube is probably like 7 to 15 minutes. So if you are an educator or you want to, just talk about, if you're, it doesn't have to be in the professional space either. You can be a family vlogger. I watch a lot of family. Well, I did. This is pre-kids and pre-business. I watched a lot of family, excuse me, a lot of family vloggers, and having those quick episodes, just, show the viewer what you did in a day or weekend, and then chat a little bit about whatever was perfect. Anything longer than that, I feel like you're losing the person.
And you see that a lot right now. Even I love creating mini vlogs because I
Yes.
don't have the time for like
Yep.
long form YouTube
I
videos.
just made one.
I love them. I love
Yep.
mini vlogs. It's a creative outlet for me. My audience loves to see like my 4 kids and like just all the wild things that we get into. And it's like, for
Uh-huh.
me, that's enjoyable. It gives them a window into my life without feeling, how do I put it? Without feeling exploited almost.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's cute. I love the transitions of just like when we're talking about transitions, I think that a lot of people think that it has to be these like really fancy, like jump
No.
on the bed and then get,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
like if you can do it, listen,
Yeah.
snaps to
All
you.
power with you, right?
I do
Right.
not have the time. I don't have the time,
Those are a lot.
but I
Because
can
your
do like a
timing has to be like your
oh,
timing and your editing has to, yeah. So those are tedious
but
and
like
time.
a beat drop is
Yeah,
easy.
yep.
Like if you
Yep.
can, and maybe this is just like the video editor in me, but I can pretty much hear a song the way. So can we talk a little
Me
bit about like
too.
foundation? You'll like hear a song and you're already like scheming in
Thinking,
your mind,
have
like,
you,
yes,
yep.
yes. So I picked the song
Yep.
first
Me
and then
too.
I'll
There's
do
a lot of editors that do it backwards. And I'm like, no, I can't edit that way.
no, absolutely not. So what is your content creation strategy or tips for people that are just now starting to implement video into their strategy after hearing this episode?
Yes. So definitely mapping out who your avatar is, painting that picture, just to recap, figuring out their pain points, what where do they see themselves and how your product or service serves them. That's the number thing. Once you figure out who the person is, your pillars, their pain points, then you can map out how to create video content. Some software or apps that you can use. If it's not like a super long reel, if you're using Instagram Reels, I always go to just editing in there. It's not really edit. I guess you would call it editing, but it's just pretty much just trimming and then like, shuffling the clips where you want them to be. So if it's something quick and simple, for that, definitely Instagram Reels. I would say another one is InShot is good. Filmora. I know Canva has a video editor as well now. I haven't played around with it. That's a good one. The biggest thing is just showing up. And then once you create a few, whatever, they are, if it's Reels, TikToks, YouTube, your audience will let you know whether they like it or not. And if they're not commenting, you'll still see those analytics, because if they're sharing, you'll see those too. So those are some hidden analytics that I always look at. I'm like, okay, well, if no one's liking it, like if your shares are more than your likes, like that's a big not a red flag, but definitely something to keep into consideration. Your comments, and then of course your hashtags, those are always important as well. So in location. So sometimes I will just put a location in a reel or video.
I love all those tips. It's true because they are completely accessible. It's nothing
Yes.
that's like out of this world. These are apps that you can get pretty much for free. I know Canva,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, they just launched just on their platform, like some sort of like templates or things that you can use for your reels. But if you're a busy CEO and you're like, listen, I really don't have the time for
Mhm.
that, like you mentioned, just going to regular Instagram. And one thing that I like to do, and please, I would love for you to jump in on this, is I like to use the same fonts all the time,
Yes.
so that there's
Mhm.
like a consistency. It's just like your branding. I don't like
Yep.
to switch up my fonts or anything like
Yeah.
that. I try and implement my colors when I can. I really just want
Mhm.
brand identity to
Yep.
show through. Even when I show up on video, if we're talking about, like right now, guys, let me give you a backstory. I'm very honest. So for some reason, I had on my calendar that our podcast interview was for 10 o'clock. So my 9-year-old, she's at Vocation Bible Camp. So I drive my 40 minutes to take her. I stop
40
yeah,
minutes.
I know.
Oh my gosh, you're
It's okay.
dedicated,
We
mama.
we like to the good thing is we like to drive, so it's fine. Like I'm listening to like a sermon on the drive, it's fine. And I stop at the store because I got to get some Lysol, and I get home, I'm like mopping my floor, and I'm like, I got to get ready. Like my face is not, that's not it. And if you guys have watched my other videos, like this is never, I never hop on video without at least like concealer and brows. Like that's just my standard. Like that's just like who I am. but I was so dedicated to showing up today that I was like, oh no, this is happening. It's happening. I'm wearing like my Guns N' Roses shirt, not cute at all.
Yes, you are.
But
Stop it.
no, but it's so much more important for me to show up and be able to give you value. That's the most important piece, is the quality of the content that you are giving, the fact that there's somebody who needs this word. There's somebody who has been sitting on the fact, and that somebody may be me, who has been sitting on the fact that
On $1 million idea.
right, on $1 million idea, like you
Yeah.
need to be showing up on lives. Like, why are you not like, oh man, I've had that conviction for months at this point. And there's somebody who's listening to my voice right now that it's like, hey, you need to show up more on stories.
This
You're
is your
not doing it.
sign.
This is your
your
sign.
sign.
Yeah, we are talking to you, and you
I'm
get
talking to myself too, honestly. But it's like I'm working at the end of the day, and I think this is social media managers in general. After looking at clients' social channels all day long, we don't even want to look at our
girl.
It's horrible, but I am alive. I'm on Instagram. I posted my first reel in like a while. So I'm getting myself back out there because I need to practice what I preach. Like, I think, although I can prove my results, I think, proving them for myself is definitely, that's going to make me feel better about myself. And then that's also going to, show my potential clients like, hey, I did it for another client and I did it for myself.
Yeah, and it's that case for support, but I think that we get so caught up in like, what do we look like? What are we wearing? Like, is this the right lipstick? Like, these are all just like cherry on top. Like when I'm talking about, I wear my brand colors, like, yeah, because that's just the cherry on top, but I'm already comfortable talking on video. I'm already comfortable sharing what I know for free, because I know that the more that I give, the more I receive. So I think that a lot of you just need to get out of your own head about, well, I don't have anything to wear for video. Well, I don't have the latest vlog camera. It's not the equipment that
there's so many excuses. My gosh.
So many excuses. And it's just like India said, you are literally leaving money on the table because you are not willing to adapt. It is not jumping on the bandwagon. It's just like during COVID.
This is a way of life now.
It is. You had to pivot during COVID. You weren't jumping on the entrepreneur bandwagon.
You had to do what you had to do to make sure your lights stayed on, your kids had food on the table. Yeah.
Exactly. And so if you are listening and you have your own business or you're starting your own business and you're like, well, how do I get more people? How do I warm up my audience? Video really is the best way to do that. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Let me make sure that we have, I have one more question. Okay. Yeah. So this question, you mentioned that your client, she brought on guests on her live. How would you say, would you say that that's something super necessary? And what I mean by that, I mean, do you think it's essential for us to collaborate with others on video? And if so, how do you get started in this if you're just getting started in the space?
Definitely yes, because one, if you're just starting, it's going to make you more comfortable. If I did this video podcast by myself, even though I am a video person, I would be probably kind of nervous because you're just talking to it's not a live stream. You're just recording it and then uploading it somewhere. So definitely it will calm your nerves. Two, it's going to put you in front of their audience. So that's more eyeballs on your content. Three, in terms of finding, people who to collaborate with, start with the people in your network. And then start with the people who you're following and who are following you. Another avenue to explore, I would say, there's Facebook groups that are always looking for collaborators. So just go in those Facebook groups and say, hey, I have, I'm looking for a Instagram live collaboration. We talk about X, Y, and Z on my channel, and I'm looking for people to collaborate with. And you would be surprised of how many people are looking to collaborate with other people. So definitely please collaborate.
Yes. And what talking points, how many talking points would you say is a comfortable number to have? Because here in the podcast space, at least, it's always recommended to have anywhere from 3 to 5 talking points.
Yep, that's what I
Just
was
to
going
give
to say.
versatility, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So how would you vary those talking points? So for example, my talking points are always on funding, kingdom entrepreneurship, and lifestyle are pretty much the 3 brand pillars that I focus on. And of course, beauty, because I'm in the beauty industry. That's what it is. So those are kind of my 4 talking points. How would you identify what are your main speaking points when reaching out to a potential collaborator?
Just going back to that content strategy. And then, once you pick your live topic, form those points around that topic. And it would be pretty clear and evident of what those talking points would be. But definitely I would say commas are in collaboration. Like
I love
definitely.
that. That was so
I'm going to make that a t-shirt.
Commas are in collaboration. I'm going to have to make this like an Instagram, like little Twitter thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to tag you. That was just so good. That was so good. Snaps for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. If people want to get to know more about you, if they want to connect with you, if they want to work with you, where can they do those things? Where can they find more about you?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on Instagram. I am holding myself accountable to starting to go back to creating my own content. So I'm on Instagram. My handle is Video by India. And then my website is indiabrown.co.
And what who would you say is your client avatar, so that visionaries that are listening right now know if you would be the best fit for them, and so that they're the best fit for you? Because I'm 100% believer that I want to work with the people that I want to work with.
So mompreneurs, but specifically birth workers. So midwives, doulas, lactation consultants, sleep consultants, anyone who is working with, moms getting ready to birth their baby. So, and that probably comes, naturally to me, being that I went through that whole natural birth process. So those are the people that are my target audience, but I haven't worked with any of those people yet. I don't know why. Not yet, but it's coming. But like I said, I have people in the beauty industry, financial industry, education space. So I work with a wide variety of clients. I don't X people out for any reason unless they are not a good fit. Like, this is the one thing that I love about being an entrepreneur. I get to choose who I work with.
Yes. Yeah.
So
you heard that? Those of you
we have to align on a vibe spiritual level. And I also have to align with your vision, and to make sure that I can, promote it in the way that you want me to promote it and that I see best fit. So those 2 things are definitely important when I'm choosing whether or not I want to work with the client.
So stinking good. Like, I could not have ended.
People are like, oh yeah, you have a credit card? Sure. I said, no.
No, I can't. Yeah, no.
Even when you're starting out, you're like, look, but it's just not going to be worth your time. Like, my peace and my sanity are more important than any amount of money out here.
Yes. And as mompreneurs, our time is so sacred, and my energy is so sacred.
My gosh.
It's like, if this doesn't feel exciting, if this doesn't light me up in the morning, I can't have you draining my energy all day. What do I have left over to go to my kids, my husband,
your other clients?
Other clients? That's not going to work. So I could not have ended on a better.
I'm super excited about this.
Much.
Thank you. It all makes sense, because I was ready. You were like, oh yeah, no, we have to cancel. And then I got a migraine. I'm like, yeah, I have to cancel. But today was today. And now I see why.
Yes, I love it. Visionary. Thank you so much for being here. I know that this episode has blessed you. Please be sure to leave a rating and review. Check out India Brown in the links down below. Many blessings on you, and I will catch you in next week's episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.